What is up, y'all? Welcome to our weekly anchor message where we are taking a look at the week ahead at our spiritual assignments. Our weekly energy oracle forecast took a while to upload for some reason, so it just hit this afternoon, so that's there. And so, yes, we're here talking about the lessons of the week in a little bit more detail than we got started yesterday. So I actually really liked what came through in the blog today. So I'm going to let you guys listen to the audio real quick, and then we'll take the cards through and we'll talk about them. All right. This week we are peeling back the layers to reveal the fruit of our hearts. We are dying to the old self that was propped up by the ego's illusions of control, and are liberated in the understanding that God alone is the sustainer. God alone is holding it all together. We're living in a time of great uncertainty, danger, chaos, and darkness. Everywhere we look, evil has set traps to destroy us. The grass is poisoned. The produce is poisoned. The air is poisoned. The water is poisoned. Our resources are depleting. There are mad scientists, lust-crazed, and greed-driven billionaires and evil overlords rising at every turn against humanity. It is all too easy to fall into a pattern of trauma responses and waste away in the fear of it all. The key to our inner rest, peace, and fulfillment is knowing that God is sustaining us, and it is God keeping us alive with every breath. When we truly understand that God is truly with us in every moment, we are free from fear, because that knowing allows us to understand that there is a purpose for our life, and that God is sustaining us, and as we see that purpose through, God is sustaining us as we see that purpose through. We can now die to the old self that was trapped and frozen and thwarted in fear. Shedding that garment removes another layer of the veil that keeps us separate from God and allows our sacred union with divine. This is the week to shed what is holding you back from growth, healing, transformation, and moving forward. This is also an outcry to allow aid into Palestine, to agree to a ceasefire, and to come to a permanent peace agreement. Yes, so I think that the great idea that we're thinking about is the fact that we're coming into the peace and knowing that if we look at all the threats that we're surrounded by on Earth right now, there's too many. And we realize how we are so insignificant and incapable of taking them all on. However, we can channel the Creator's light through us and be able to first, address the change within ourselves and take on the things that we can change, which is the things within our soul. But then it starts to make an impact outside of us as well. And so if everyone was doing the work, the collective shift would change the conditions of the experience that we all have collectively on Earth. So I think that part of that is realizing that with all these threats around us, it's the Bible verse that says, lest the Lord keep your house, your labor is in vain. It's like, unless God holds us together and keeps us alive, there's really nothing we can do. We can do our best to be responsible and do our due diligence and take care of ourselves and do the responsible things that help take care of others and the planet. But ultimately, God is in control and has his hand on us. And when it is our time, it is our time. And if we are meant to go through some sort of crazy, scenario and experience play out something important in our life, then we will. There are certain things that are just destined and fated along the path. And so God will always give us what we need to sustain through our life and keep us going, because we have a purpose to serve. As long as we're living, we have a special and unique purpose for us. So that kind of, I feel, takes some of the weight off. But the sustainer is our first card. And so part of the energy this week is realizing that, for one, we're nothing without the creator. We can pretend that we have it all under control, and we can feel stressed out and not ask for help and try to deal with it all ourselves. But really, the creator wants us to be vulnerable and open up and ask for help and turn to the creator for support, right? Co-creator. If you're partners in a company, I was just listening to one of my guests talk about this. He was hired on thinking that he was going to be someone's partner and be contributing creatively, and his vision was going to be received well and respected, and he was going to get to make an impact and make a mark. And when he got into the job, he realized that it was more of an assistant position. And it was sort of disappointing, even though he knew he could learn a lot in that role. So that's kind of like the situation with our life and our existence, right? With the creator, we co-create. And it's like we're coming in, and the creator is the CEO, right? The creator is the head designer. And we're coming in, and actually the thing is that the creator really does want to put it all in our hands, but we have to co-create together, like an equal partnership, even though we're leading maybe the parts of the project, and then the creator is keeping us on track, to make sure that we're on track with our goals. So like the project manager is the creator, and we are the vision, right? We're executing it. We're the director. Now it's as if most of the time in our life, we are doing this all on our own, and we're trying to do all the planning ourselves, and we're not consulting the creator and asking for help. And creator is an equal partner and wants to, us to work together in the process. It's like in my former relationships, I enjoy in a romantic setting, like cooking dinner together. But I have dated people that are crabby cooks in the kitchen and don't want anyone in their space. And so it's a very separate, it's like either I'm cooking or you're cooking kind of thing. And so the creator wants to cook together. It's all about sharing the experience and making something really beautiful that is better together than it is on my own or on the creator's own. But realizing that like I'm really nothing without the creator. The creator gives me my breath of life. The creator gives me my ideas and the fire that animates me and brings me to life. So why would I expect me to have to solve all of the world's problems and evils on my own, and face all of these threats by myself? The creator has my back, and I have legions of angels with me, and the creator is the true sustainer. And so it's so crazy, because this is part of the matrix, part of the simulation, part of the lessons and the tests we have to go through is learning on a really instinctual level where it becomes our reflex understanding that it's not my job that's really giving me my money. It's the creator providing me that money through the job. It's not the police or the government that's keeping me safe. It's the creator keeping me safe. The creator is going to move through even the most destructive and dark evils that are coming through the world right now. It's like we have a storm of evil pushing through, and it's like this surge and purge all at the same time of all of this, the infection coming to the surface. And, it's very easy to look out there and get discouraged, but it's also really easy to look out there and get really inspired and moved by the incredible things happening. All of the thousands of people marching and meeting on the borders of Gaza to march and to stand against the the armies and to protest on behalf of the Palestinian people. I think that's amazing. I think it's like throwback to biblical times when the Israelites would go and gather in numbers and march on foot somewhere and make noise, make a joyful noise and bring down the walls of Jericho, right? The woman Greta Thunberg and her crew of environmental activists and people aboard her sailboat were trying to go against all odds and see if they could just gamble even being successful at getting humanitarian aid in. And they were intercepted and they were kidnapped, and they knew that they would be because they all made videos ahead of time to release just in case it happened. And so you can actually go to Chani Nichols, the astrologer's page today, where she releases the carousels. In the carousel that starts with the man trying to explain the correlation in the LA riots to the authorities that had shown up, the parallels between the agenda of just white supremacy and what's happening right now in slavery and what's happening right now. And this was in the midst of, the protests or whatever. It's a really interesting carousel, but if you flip through it, you can actually at those countries' embassies on behalf of those people on the sailboat to make sure to draw attention to the fact that they need to intervene for them. So that's an assignment you can do. Chani Nichols, that carousel, scroll in, and there's like a list of the representatives that you can at for their embassies. That will help them. That is an action, a specific action you can take to help them. So the sustainer. So God is the ultimate sustainer. And when we are vulnerable and surrender and stop and ask, please help us. Please help me. Please help me to see what it is that I need to work on or correct or merit in order to get the answer that I'm looking for. Right? Sometimes, it's so funny because I was listening to all of my favorite podcasters from the Kabbalah Center, David Guillaume and the Weekly Energy Boost. And there was a little bit of an older episode that came up from the Spiritually Hungry podcast. And it's so funny because they all aligned so perfectly. But David Guillaume was talking about how sometimes when we need clarity and we need an answer, we will get the answer after we earn the answer. Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't have clarity around something, or you were like, what is this lesson really about? And you just keep trying and you keep trying. And then you go through a challenge and it's like a near miss. You almost failed the test, but then you're like, I think I barely passed. And then it's like the next day you see a video that gives you the answer for the challenge. I've experienced that for sure. And so sometimes we don't have the answer immediately, but the answer will come. The answer's already there. The solution's already there. Everything that's meant for you is already there. Our whole perfected, realized self is already in existence. We just have to reveal that thing. So the Creator wants to reveal all the beauty of existence through us and to us. And in order to do that, it has to become physicalized. So our Secret Teachings of Jesus video from this last Saturday, I think I'm going to do a part 2 because a lot of the podcasts and the things that I was listening to this week have really been tying into it. Remember how I said recently that the Secret Teachings of Jesus a lot of times coincide with the Coming Torah portion of the week? Okay, I did again this week. So I'm going to take notes from those podcasts and the parallels that I noticed, and then I will do, I think, a part 2 this Saturday for that. So anyway, back to the reading. So we're peeling back the layers, and in order to come into more full union with the Creator and be able to enter into that rest and that assurance that everything's in God's hands ultimately, and it doesn't absolve us of our responsibility. This is not spiritually bypassing and just saying, oh well, I guess everything's meant to be, and we'll do our best and we'll just hope it works out. No, because we have to answer for the amount of effort and what we intentionally, the intention that we brought, and the what we gave and what we shared and how much we changed and grew. So that's not that doesn't give us a sick note for the day. We still have to show up and do the work. But I think one thing that will help us get back into feeling more strongly connected to that sustaining energy is trying to shift back into a presence of joy and of gratitude and appreciation, because I think that is also what it's a more powerful vibrational feeling, and it overcomes that darkness and it overcomes that fear. And so it helps us peel back all those layers that keep us separate from being in union with the Creator. And when we're in union with the Creator, it's like we are in the mindset of our higher self and we're more at peace. But because we're in that inner state of peace and certainty, we are also in a flow that allows us to be in flow, and it also puts us in the right place at the right time to have that what we call good luck or good fortune, or be blessed or prosperous or fruitful. Now, we are also approaching the full moon of the month. So the new moon of this month was in Gemini. And so we're in Gemini season for the entire month. And so that Gemini influence is going to be over us. And yes, it's very adventurous and playful and inquisitive, which is, so are Three of Cups. Three of Cups is like celebrating and being at a first stage of completion. This is celebrating life's sweetness and early stages of accomplishment, or like next stage of your life. So I feel like this is the first stage of the new chapter of our life, and it's set, and it's the foundation is being laid by our reconnecting to our awareness that we are co-creating with divine, that Creator is in it with us, and that we are cleaving to the Creator. Now, another part about Gemini season is that we are like aware of the two twins within us. The twin that says, I'm going towards my authentic self or my higher self. And one way to understand that is to think of it as a self that's less reactive, but more seeing through the illusion, trusting the Creator, staying in your peace, and being able to take action even through the challenge. One thing that has been so impressive to me about Greta Thunberg, sorry, I'm still getting her name. I'm getting closer, just uncertain. But the one thing that has been so impressive to me is that even in the midst of these situations that would terrify me and bring me into such a state of fear and panic, she's so level-headed and matter-of-fact and cool as a cucumber and grounded and solid and secure and certain, and is in no state of like hysteria or regret or back and forth. Like, her energy is so solid and so strong, right? That is the version of you that is living out your full potential. I mean, look at this person who has overcome fear and has done something that extends outside of their comfort zone, has pushed themselves to follow an inner calling that took them down a journey that ended up in this situation where she has done something truly historical and heroic with her crew. So I just like, I'm so impressed with her, but also her as an example of this kind of version of the self that is not reactive, that can sustain and be a cause consciousness, right? And be the cause, not the effect. She's not affected by the situation. She knew going in that this could happen. So she's stable and steady through the whole thing. Amazing. The lower self is the part of us that wants to stay in the comfort zone, doesn't want to change, like, don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Leave me to my peace. I'm just going to stay out of it. I'm not going to get involved, right? It's the avoidant. Now, I talked about this in the audio that there's so many fearful, overwhelming things going on Earth right now that it is so easy for our nervous system to be thrown into a trauma response, like a low-level trauma response that results in our procrastination, in our freeze mode, where we might do a lot of busy work, but it doesn't really take us, doesn't push the needle forward. We might have like chaos or self-sabotaging tendencies that keep us like wanting to numb out and distract and, fight, flight, freeze. Well, if you're flying, you might want to go drink or party or go on another trip or shop online or do whatever it is that you can do to avoid and numb out. You might be like fawning and trying, like bending over backwards to try to control every detail and please everyone to survive, right? You might be limerent, you might be ruminating and just like obsessing in your mind about things. So think about that and be aware of when you catch yourself doing that, to break that habit, to break that pattern, because months can go by and like years can go by. Like we have the rest of these 4 years that is going to be bringing out the worst in people and global instability. So we have to learn to be able to sustain and live and continue on and still get the fullest and most out of our life, whilst also not ignoring, where we are at as a collective on Earth at the moment. Now, that reactive self that checks out, that self-sabotages, that becomes that gets caught up in the drama, that believes what is very real, but like, look at Greta. She is in a very real situation, but her emotional center, she's not spiraling, right? Her vibration is staying the same. So even though she is seeing the reality in front of her that she has been captured, inside, vibrationally and emotionally, she is sovereign. She is free. She is not hysterical. She is not being reactive and affected by the situation. Her energy is consistent. She's sticking to her plan. This example, I feel like this is a really good example to use for being, for example of someone who is being in a state of cause consciousness and not effect consciousness. So our old self right now, as we're moving through Gemini season, remember Gemini is also the lovers in the tarot, and the lovers is the masculine and the feminine, and they're looking to Archangel Raphael to show them the direction. So the lovers card is about choice and decision and making choices that are led and guided by your authentic self, your higher self, your surrendering your own egoic will to the care of the higher self and the direction and the influence of the higher self, versus our ego's vulnerability to be influenced by the opponent, right? So we're putting an end to our old story where the old self would do things this way. The old self would react that way. The old self would be gripped with scarcity and fear right now and not do the thing that would bring the soul alive or whatever it is. But that old self, we are seeing that reflexive desire to do the old behavior come up, but we're so clear and we see it so vividly now that we're like, it's so much easier to say pause. Not anymore. I am in a new story. I am co-creating with the God who sustains me, and I am choosing a new path. I am choosing differently, and I am choosing, for starters, from a foundation of love. And the old self is shedding like snakeskin. Just peeling away. So we have the kiss here, and we have 8 of Swords. So again, there's a tendency in our animal body and in our instinctual nature to feel frozen, to feel trapped, to feel despondent, and helpless and powerless, but we are not. This is only an illusion. And so we do have impact and power, and our prayers and our collective prayers and our agreed upon prayers together have power. Our actions that we take together have power. The LA demonstrations had power today, or was it yesterday when the LA protests happened? They did not get violent. There are stories that are trying to spin it that way, but they're using a lot of footage from old former past riots. This was a peaceful protest. The LAPD were around, but they were very chill and inactive, and a lot of them became part of the protest because they joined with the pride section of the protest. So half of the LAPD joined in. The National Guard that showed up apparently were very passive, and you could tell they had no interest in taking any action against the protesters. But the people who were the, government representatives that were taking action and violently, going after people and arresting people were basically goons dressed up in like vests. They were wearing civilian clothes and shoes. They were no badge, no nothing. So basically this was what is it called when you have your, like a posse, like a deputy's posse just thrown together, this like ragtag team of like misfits, Proud Boys, insurrectionists probably, but these are basically bounty hunters now that are showing up in masks, and they're not official government people, and they're not official military representatives, and they're kidnapping people and they're taking them to the detention centers. So that was what was going on there. So the protests themselves, though, made a big impact, and there was another portion of California that decided to revoke their cooperation with ICE, and so things are starting to happen. We have senators and Congress people that are waking up, and they're, some are rising above just the initial shock and performativeness, and they're really putting themselves out there and on the line. And so it's very, it's intense, it's scary, it's encouraging. It's, like I've said before, what a time to be alive, right? But we are not powerless, and we are not frozen in fear. We're not going to stay frozen in fear. We're not going to close ourselves off. We're not going to isolate. We're going to open up. We're going to ask God for help, and we're going to ask each other for help. And we're going to be honest with people. Like when you're like, man, I cannot change my outlook today. I can't change my heart today. I need help. I need help getting out of this because I want to shift the way that I'm thinking. I want to shift the narrative. I want to change, but I'm having a hard time today. And so reach out to someone who you get support from. And then, when you have stronger days, they'll come to you. But as we come together within ourselves, with the shedding of that old saboteur self and the healing of the ego so that it's more integrated with that authentic higher self, so the more we are in union within ourselves, then that brings us in a more stronger connection with other people, because we have deeper understanding, deeper compassion. The less that we're at war within ourselves, the less we feel the need to be at war with anyone else either. And so as we come into more unity with each other, that brings us into more unity with the Creator. And so that's what we want. Because that is the ultimate channel that the Creator is going to be able to shine love and peace and abundance through, is when we stop channeling evil into the world. All right, you guys, that's all for tonight. I'm excited. I had an unexpected day off tonight, so I made the most of my day. I just really cleaned the house really good and the bathrooms and did laundry, and I did gardening, and I took care of like some clerical things and chores and errands and weird little miscellaneous stuff that I've been meaning to do. And I foraged some mushrooms. I got another big batch of jelly ears, and I went to the store and bought stuff to make Cajun beans and rice on Thursday, and I'm just gonna make a lazy sort of eating all the rest of my leftovers kind of night and just indulging and relaxing, and I am excited. So I hope y'all have a good rest of your evening or morning or whenever you're watching this. And so on our next video, so let's see, on Wednesday we have a full moon, and I would like to make the full moon workshop tomorrow. I know I haven't done one in a couple of months. This year has been really weird. I've been working a ton, and then through the spring there was just a lot of other things, adulting, social obligations, family obligations, all kinds of things. So I'm finally getting back into a routine where I can like get more regular with some of the extra content. All right, so I'm going to hopefully film that tomorrow, and then tomorrow night we will have our Oracle manifestation message for the week. All right, y'all. Peace.